Hi, y'all. Welcome to the Spiritual Speakeasy, where the spirits are always served and the bar is always open. Tonight's special, very, very, very special guest, very dear to my heart, is Miss Sarah Jane with Paranormally Blonde and Get Haunted. And let's get her on because there's already comments everywhere.
Hey, Julie.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am good. Could not wait to get you on.
Yeah, I'm actually, this is past my bedtime, so here I am.
Oh,
I'm like, I'll stay up for Julie. I'll stay up for Julie. So here I am.
Yay. So, Paranormally Blonde, let's talk about that first. Tell us about it.
Oh my gosh. Well, Paranormally Blonde. That was all sort of born out of about 5 years ago. Two women, well, one woman who I was friends with on Facebook, wanted to do a podcast, and she reached out and she asked if I would be on a podcast, and she asked another person as well. So the three of us got together. I had never done it before. I had never thought I wanted to do it. It was nothing I'd ever even like fathom. It just wasn't in my mind, but I'm always up for that challenge, right? So we started a show called A Haunt Mess. And it was the three of us, and we had a great time. And then, of course, COVID hit. And the person who started it she's an author. She writes many books. She does a haunted travel situation. But Dee Dee, who was on the show with us, was like, I'm not ready to end this. Although, our counterpart she was moving on to other things. And I was like, well, let's continue doing a show. And we were both blondes. So we came up with Paranormally Blonde. And I did that show for a few years with Dee Dee. And she does, of course, dream interpretations. And now on with Danny from Get Haunted. They do Awakenings, which is tarot and dream interpretations. But I continued on. And I think, honestly, when Paranormally Blonde was born as a podcast, it really is, it follows in the same vein as what Get Haunted is. And that really was for me, not to showcase my beliefs necessarily, but to meet as many people from all the different corners of the paranormal world, and to hear them from people who are just curious, all the way up to certain paranormal celebrities. It's just, it was fun to get to know people because I didn't really have a voice, being out there in the paranormal world, having my own team. I really couldn't get people to speak, to talk to me, to, include me in some of their outings or trying to get into locations. So doing the podcast was a really good way to sort of get my voice out there, but to hear everybody else's voice. And then, of course, meeting Get Haunted, it was just a natural fit. So Paranormally Blonde, I kind of feel like it's like a little bit of a, the workbook that goes along with Get Haunted, right? Being able to showcase where, we can all talk together, 1 hour a week, even though my shows are rarely an hour, but, just to get everybody's voice out there. And I think everybody should have a moment, just like everybody should have merch. Everybody should have a moment on a show.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's attractive to the female population out there too, because there are so many female investigators out there that don't have a voice as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think podcasting, like you said, it's really nice because since I've done this podcast, I've had the opportunity to meet so many absolutely fabulous people like you and Rob. and everybody else that I would not have met otherwise.
I agree. It brings the world, it makes the world a lot smaller, right? It kind of brings us all together. You're in Missouri, I'm in Michigan, Rob's in Pennsylvania. So it brings us together closer for those moments. And there's the good with the bad and the bad with the good when it comes to this. But I agree with you. I think it is definitely one of those things where, it was interesting when I popped on. I'm like, what are we talking about tonight, Julie? And I love it because you're such an empowered, strong female. And I love the fact that you said, you wanted to talk about the women in paranormal. And it's always been a topic that I love. And I think I look at it a little differently than a lot of women, but it is such an important topic. And I think especially now, I think with the climate of social media right now, I think it's an important topic to put out there. So I commend you for getting it out there. And
well, thank you. Thank you. Tell us about Get Haunted, because we talk about Get Haunted all the time. I've got a Get Haunted bumper sticker. So, and MSP, of course, is how I got to meet Rob. And that was amazing. And his group really did a great show. But tell us how you're related to Get Haunted and what you all do there. And then we're going to get into personal stuff.
Yeah. Yes. So we had Rob and Bill and Tanya. They were Get Haunted. We had them on Paranormally Blonde back in December of 2021. It just resonated. And if anybody ever goes back and watches that particular show, you can see where Rob and I connect right away. Like it was what he was sharing about Get Haunted, what the mission was. It just clicked for me. I was so excited that I joined the network that night. Like immediately after the show, I joined the network. And I just loved sort of what he was really sharing in the community, which is you don't look absurd, Rob, knock it off.
He also says
yes. Well, so yeah, it was one of those things where, again, with him, same thing, trying to join teams and trying to be involved in something. And he did work for another event company, and he just sort of looked at it like, you know what, I'm going to take the best parts of it and I'm going to create this. And he did. And it really did resonate with me. So that night I immediately joined the network and asked for guests and got so many guests right off the bat through the network. They were so willing to help. Everybody jumped in. Everybody was talking to everybody. But it wasn't until a few months later where Rob had reached out. We didn't really talk much once he was on the show, here and there on social media, but not a lot of conversations. But he reached out and he shared one of his biggest experiences in the paranormal with me. And, Paranormal Besties kind of grew out of that within one conversation. And then I would just talk to him about Get Haunted and give him ideas. And I worked behind the scenes for really a handful of months where he and I would, get talking about what we could do, what Get Haunted could do, sort of expanded on his ideas. So really it is a network. Tell me if I'm doing this right, Rob. It's really a network first and foremost, right? It's a network on social media of people in the community who might not have felt they had a voice before. And really what we have done is created this space, not so we do the work for you, but Rob and I and Danny, everybody in Get Haunted, we will knock down those doors and find the opportunities that anybody is welcome to have, and put the work into it, right? That's what it's about. We want to know what's out there. What does Julie have with her team? Maybe there's something Julie has that nobody would know if we didn't put it out on the network, right? And talking to each other. We don't follow one particular practice, thought, or theory. It is about hearing them all, because if we can't hear them all, we are not going to grow in the field.
Absolutely.
So it is a network first. And then the events that we do, that is a way for us to connect in person physically with everybody in the network,
Sure.
and in the community. So we do like to express, that way with the events, and to get to really see hands-on and in real time, how people paranormal is really what it comes down to, right? We're not going to tell you how to do it. We want to learn how you paranormal. And then we help in with consulting, from locations to teams. We create merchandise for you. Rob he does an amazing job when it comes to merch. So it's really kind of like it's a hub, it is the network. But I think what's important for everybody to understand is that when it comes to Get Haunted, yes, you will see Rob and I a lot. We are the ones that get out there, and we want to make sure that space is nice and tidy for everybody. But the network works because of people like yourself, Julie. It's everybody that makes up the network, that works together, that shares. And, if somebody has an issue, a challenge, a success, it's the encouragement, it's the motivation, it's the inspiration. That's what's really important to us. So that's really what Get Haunted is. It's just Get Haunted, right? Like, what better name? You come in, you figure out what you want to do in the world of paranormal, from spirituality to whatever else, content creation, whatever. We want to know. We want to know every single corner, closet, house situation, whatever it is. We want to learn it. We want to find it. And we want to offer those opportunities to whoever is looking for one.
Sure. Well, it is the ultimate network when you think about that. It is. It's how you find people. It's how you gain friends. It's how you talk. And you can't have something like that unless you are open-minded and open-eared. Because people who are very close-minded in groups, that this is the way we do it, and this is the way we've always done it, and we're going to continue to do it that way, they stagnate. I think that's personal.
I agree with you. Honestly, I think, when I look at, for me personal, as Sarah, when I look at the successes of Get Haunted, when I see what really works, it is for those people who come in and we love them. We love everybody that comes into the network and wants to, to try something new. But it's when we watch those connections being made. It's when we watch, you don't have to follow us per se, but when we watch the collaborations that come out of it. If suddenly your team hooks up with another team and we see you out there, to me, that's a proud mom moment. That is that you're doing what you should be doing. You found each other and you guys are expanding opportunities with each other. And that's really what it's about. And I agree. I think sometimes the groups, there are amazing groups and teams, and they are for what they are. But to your point, Julie, I agree. I think that Get Haunted sort of becomes sort of a jumping off, get in there, look what there is, and start to spread your wings a little bit.
Sure. Well, in the gigs, the Haunticons, the Paracons, the different things like that we all show up at are so much fun, because like Gettysburg, I've never been to Gettysburg. I didn't know anybody at Gettysburg besides Rob, for real. And a few of the desk people that I had met at MSP through Get Haunted. Yeah. So Chris and I go out there with Russell and Russell from Beyond Life. And we go out there. I knew them too, obviously. Yeah. But we went out there and it was like, oh my gosh, look for Rob and Sarah. Because those are people that I have met. Well, I hadn't met you, but I was looking forward. We talked. Yeah. It was one of those things like, it's a common ground. And then you're like, well, you're so-and-so from our team. And have you met these people? And have you? And so now I'm in touch with all these beautiful people, and I've met people from all different teams, and Dave with, the ghost equipment, and all these people that are just amazing people that I would not have met had I not have gone to a Get Haunted MSP gig to meet you all to begin with.
And so I think that's a success story. That is, I think when we cut each other off, when we start giving the game of, you can't talk to that person, or don't do that, don't do it with these people. Like, look, we all have different opinions. We all have different things that we follow. And, you would like to believe we're adults and that we would allow others to follow whatever they do. And as Nesper comes with its own set of of people who are constantly nitpicking, and it's fine. If you don't like it, go on your way. You don't need to follow. But there are people who want to explore that
Yeah.
particular, way of investigating, or maybe they want to understand why they do the things they do. I'm not quite sure why we're stepping on each other's journey to the afterlife. We're all going to die. Rob loves when I say this. We're all going to die. That we have in common. None of us know what's going to happen from that point on. We're guessing, we're learning, we're taking these chances. And I think when we start fighting each other, it is pointless to me. It is a pointless fight of, what is the end game? What is the end game here, folks? Like, what is it that you,
right.
And why does it hurt if Julie likes Nesper and so doesn't? How does that affect anybody else's journey? I'm not really sure.
No, and it shouldn't, because first of all, nobody's ever walked in my shoes but me. Nobody's walked in your shoes but you. So nobody knows our paths, path where we've crossed or haven't crossed. They also don't know why we are the way we are today. And so when you look at things like that, there's certain aspects to me of every group, whether you like them or not, you agree with them or not, there's truth in everybody. There's truth in everything. And to find those commonalities and go with that is the gift of a future journey.
Yeah.
You have to be open enough to, it may not be for you, but you're going to put it in a file in the back of your mind. And there's going to be one of those days where you go, well, wait a minute, that team, I remember when this team did this and didn't really like the team, but oh my God, I think I need that tool right now.
Julie, I have probably really since Get Haunted, because it has opened the doors to me meeting so many different people, the diversity that really has entered my life because of Get Haunted. It has changed a lot of my viewpoints and understanding on a deeper level, and being able to admit and own, like, I know what I know. I don't know what I don't know. And even the things that I thought I didn't like, you can't ever say I'll never, because the reality is the minute you say that, you will. I mean, you just don't know, because I've never been. Yeah, right. That's right. I've never been a 53-year-old woman before, so every year and every person that I meet, to your point, right? My journey changes, and I'm grateful to that. I'm grateful to have those moments to be able to go, when I look at my 20s or I look at my 30s, I'm grateful to be past all that and be open to say, wow, I was wrong. Or, wow, that person that don't shoot the messenger, I guess, really, in the end, right? I might not like that person, but boy, what they're saying really does make sense, and it does resonate. Yeah.
We were all on another feed. You were in before and went looking for you. Well, that's funny, because my feed has stopped. I'm not getting any comments except for in the blue lines right now. So I don't know what's up with that. Everybody's like jumping around. So if I don't answer to a comment, I said yay to everybody. That's like 903, and that's the last comment I have.
Oh, there's Icy.
Icy, nice. Thank you. I think it's so important that we just chill.
When that being,
and not get so offended, and understand that everybody has a different way of getting to the same destination. We want good haunts, we want good experiences, some of us want scary experiences, some of us want all kinds of things. Some people deal with demons, some people don't want to deal with demons, and that's all okay. Wherever it is that you want to be is where you need to be in that moment. Why do people feel that there need to be teams in the first place? Because that's a good question, but I think because we're so spread out across the country, and not everybody can afford to travel all the way across the United States by themselves to go see something that's, $1,500 a night to rent or something like that. And teams have each other's backs. I mean, teams are mini families.
Yeah.
I mean,
Plus, I don't know. I think with teams too, right? Like I think the importance of finding your people. I
yeah,
think it's when you refuse to, if you have a team and you refuse to work with another team, or you refuse to let anybody on your team work with another team, why? Like, my
ego.
sisters and I have a team, but if your team said, we want to come out with my team, I would, yes, please, let's do that. I think it's having those people, it's having your family
Mhm.
and your friends that you like to do that things with. But I think it's when we start that hard line of, you cannot stray outside of this team, and you
No,
must get permission. No, we're all individuals. We all have
mhm.
our own thoughts. And I think when you if you have that opportunity, my sisters also investigate with other people, because we all live somewhere, we all three live in three different states, so we can't always get together.
No,
And why
no,
would you want to like put a stop to somebody having their moment? You just shouldn't. But that's
right.
me.
No, no, I agree with that. And it builds, like you said, my husband and I, when we started dating, that's what we did together.
Yeah.
We watched the shows. Unfortunately, some of it was Zach Bagans, but you learn from Zach. I mean,
Yes, you do. You can't take it away from them.
no, I cannot. I will, and I will not. Some of my
Yeah.
best nights were spent on his Facebook page, Zach Bagans Pants. It's a
His
whole page about
pants.
there's a whole Facebook page about the pants that Zach Bagans wears. It's funny as hell. Like, it's all memes. It's great. And it's all in love and fun. But that you build the camaraderie and you build a relationship, and you have people have your back,
Yeah.
which is important too, because you have to have somebody watching your back. I know Dave.
That's a sad thing to say? Isn't that a really sad?
Well, I don't mean with people. I mean with spirits in haunted locations.
Yes, I agree with that.
I don't mean with people. I'm zero fucks. You know that. I mean, like, I'm always telling people zero fucks what other people think about
Yeah.
me. Like, I'm 62. Fuck
Yeah.
it. I really don't care what somebody thinks about me. I'm not going to change because you don't like me.
Yeah.
I've changed so much in 62 years that I'm not worried about what you think. It's kind of that kind of thing. But but you do it as a team. You have members that function. I am electronically challenged as hell. Russ will be the first one to, it's bad.
Yeah. I know.
Round and fall down flights of stairs.
I did. That was my last weekend. I was by myself and I didn't have a flashlight, and first time that I really freaked myself out, and I did the splits down the stairs, but we're all good. But I do agree. I think, when you're in those moments, Julie, and you're investigating, to have somebody watching your behavior, when you're not, when you get obsessive, if you are having an experience and you're sort of obsessed on it, or if you need somebody to snap you out of it, or to be able to, hey Courtney, to be able to say like, okay, we need to step out for a minute, and it's, I think, does it need to be a team? No, but you want to trust that somebody understands your behavior
Sure.
when you are. So yeah, I think this teams just form naturally. I think that just happens.
Right. Yeah. Well, people watch me, they watch my eyes, because when I channel and I go into things, I get hit so fast sometimes that I change, and my eyes are the first thing that will go. So,
okay.
People, for me, and I know Damien and I've had this conversation many, many times. Like, for me, it's very scary to go in by myself, because I don't know if a lot of times if I'm getting hit with something in the moment. I'll know later for sure, but in that moment, I don't always know when the adrenaline's going, and you do that. It's one of those things. Hence the Valkyrie spray that I use, because that brings it out very quickly.
Yeah, everybody needs to order that. If you're selling that, like, everybody, I highly, highly recommend the Valkyrie spray. It's like my obsession right now. Can't get enough. We were talking about that.
Russell, I don't know if you can type in what's the team in Texas that gosh, I just drew a blank on Shelly Pruitt's team. Shelly and Blake. They call it bitch be gone spray. and she buys it. She's the only female in the group, and she buys it for all the guys, and she calls it bitch be gone. It's hilarious.
I love it. It's a perfect spray. It is a perfect spray.
being female in the biz.
Mhm.
And she laughs. How is that for you? We've had guests on that have said this is a male dominated area. This is a male, which I don't see that, but I don't do big institutions, nor do I book big institutions.
Right.
How do you feel about that? What do you bring into it with the feminine energy and the whole female teams,
Yeah.
all of it?
So here's what I'll say. So I've been doing this a while, like many people in the field. It's been 20, 25 years for me that I've been really, I would say, consciously involved in the paranormal. But so that's a very different journey. Being a team, nobody knew who I was. I had a very little or light presence on social media, so nobody really gave a crap. But getting into the business of paranormal is a very different world. So I actually do not believe paranormal is male dominant. It is very female dominant. And when you look at the demographics of who consumes paranormal, it is high percentage female. So when you see the male teams, especially on TV, when you see them sort of being pushed, it's because of who's consuming it. It's females that are consuming it, and that's what they want to watch. Females don't want to watch other females. It just seems to be the nature of the beast. But when you're out in the field itself, I believe it is very female dominant. Get Haunted is female dominant. I am part owner, so Rob, we have many females. The females outnumber the males at Get Haunted, folks. I would say the businesses that we work with, a lot of them are female dominant. So the business of paranormal, and I will just say, for the record, I would say my personal opinion is any issues that arise, even if a male counterpart is involved, it is being driven by another female. So I would say, this is very much a female dominant field. I see amazing women doing amazing work. And they are out there. They are doing really good work out there. There's brilliant women, equipment makers, authors, doing theories. You've got Lourdes, on the Staticom with Ron Iacovetti. These people are brilliant people. But I feel like because of that female dominance, and once I became business in the paranormal, instead of just some girl on some team that nobody gave a crap about, everything changed. Everything changed. And, sadly, I would say 98.9% of my issues have been female driven, not male driven. Right. And if a male was involved, it's because a girl has, stepped in, or a female has stepped in and sort of given her version. And so he has stepped up to protect that female and, has joined the games. So it's interesting to me, but, I think there's different factions here in the paranormal that we kind of have to take into consideration. Yes, it's male dominant in the paranormal entertainment field, but why? We need to think about that before we start crying there's not enough women on TV. Well, then tell women to want to watch women, but we don't. We want to watch the guys that everybody thinks are hot. So there's that, so that's one section of paranormal. But I think, I would say content creator, though, I feel that is very much male dominated. And that is interesting to me. And I don't know why content creation, because that's younger. Those are younger demographics that watch that sort of YouTube situation. I don't watch YouTubers. So
yeah, I don't either.
not really something I do, but I
And
feel
I
like
watch TikTokers, but I don't watch paranormal TikTokers.
right. So
I
like
know.
with TikTok, I'm not sure. Is that female or male dominant? I'm not really sure.
I would say from what comes up on my TikTok, it's female.
Okay. Okay.
And I watch a lot of male musicians and male-driven businesses, but I can honestly say the only TikTokers now, metaphysical, I would say 50-50.
Okay.
Easy.
Interesting.
There's as many male readers out there.
Mhm.
The male readers that I follow tend to be more satanic or more the dark readers.
Okay.
But they put on great shows. I mean, for TikTok, they really do a good job with their content and the way they do things. Rob Bagans, he is being so bad. I live stream to I bet you do. I can see that. But
and I think too, though, Julie, what I realize, and I feel like a lot of times with the TV situation, and even some of the content creation that you see on YouTube, I think when we as women sort of sell ourselves as being, we either have to be a psychic medium, right? We sort of put ourselves in this sort of category, or we are a practicing witch. And so we sort of pigeonhole ourselves. I don't know that I see many women that like, look, I would never make that claim about myself. I don't say I'm a psychic medium. I don't practice that for people. That's a whole nother conversation. But I think that's when, that's the other problem, because they sort of put women in a role, but whose fault is that? And I'm not trying to blame
it's
anybody.
ours. No,
Yeah.
it's ours. It is, because I know I'm the first one to put myself in a box, and then I have to readjust the box as I change roles and change positions and I add on, and people will say, well, you're this, this, and this.
Right.
Well, I'm the one that labeled myself that to begin with. So
Yeah.
but people expect labels. I mean, they want you to call yourself what it is you do.
Right. I agree. So I think being a woman, this is what I'll say. I think being a woman in paranormal is a blessing in a bazillion different ways. I don't think paranormal is the problem. I think social media is the problem.
Absolutely. I would say yes.
Yeah, and I think the emotional maturity, and just the maturity in general on social media is probably got to be a good 15 years younger than people's actual age most of the time. So
well, you can hide behind the screen. I mean,
right.
That's so much of it. It's what I call the keyboard warriors. The meanness out there is because nobody's really being who, I shouldn't say nobody. A lot of people are not being who they really are. It's easy to say something when you're typing than it is to meet in person.
Right.
And see
But
that to someone's face.
I think we also have to understand that, let's be honest, when it comes to, look, I'm 53. I remember TV from the 70s and 80s and even the 90s. And you think about, especially in the 80s, you didn't have 24-hour TV with hundreds of channels to pick from. You just didn't. So the shows were, to me, they had to compete and they had to be certain content, right? And to get everybody to view you. And I think when those channels bursted wide open 24 hours a day, and now you have hundreds of channels to pick from, there are things that you turn on, you're like, how the hell did this get on TV? I don't even understand, right? Doesn't mean it wasn't bad. Like there were bad shows in the 80s. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is they had to be selective. There's no selection anymore, right? So you've got nothing but tons and tons of things to pick from. Social media is sort of like cable, right? Now, instead of us learning how to socialize with each other and having to pick our moments because we had to do it in person, now we're all on social media with hundreds of thousands of different ways to get to people, and you can choose what personality you're going to be that day, and you can be a complete asshole and nobody can get to you because guess what? You're online, you're not in person. And so it's really dumbed everything down in so many ways because we don't have the conversations. And when we do have conversations now, I'm going to screenshot, I'm going to take what you said and I'm going to share it with the world. So forget personal conversations. Those are out the window. Nobody knows how to have those. Nobody understands that loyalty doesn't end when a relationship ends. There are moments that you truly like somebody, that you love somebody and you had their back, and then something happens. As normal adults, you don't then go, oh my God, I'm going to use everything they ever gave me against them and I'm going to go after them. That's what social media has created. Instead of just saying, you know what, as adults, you say this, you were a part of my life and now you're not. Go on and do your thing, and I'm going to go on and do my thing. So all these people who have integrity and loyalty, you don't get to say that when you like to use everything that you once were using as a friend, and now using that information against them. So social media has just opened it up for everybody to put on the stupidest content 24 hours a day with nobody checking them, right? Nobody checking what they're doing. And there's no real accountability. You know,
no, and I think COVID made that worse. I mean, I'm not saying that to bring up the whole COVID discussion and all of that. That's not what I mean. I think the lockdowns and people now working from home, the lockdowns and people not having jobs, but having the security of social media, has changed the whole way of thinking. Even when people now get out in the public, you know, it's a whole new breed.
Well, plus we are able to create our own version of ourselves without having to prove it to anybody. So we get on social media and we complain. I'm a victim. Here's why I'm a victim. And you get everybody to pile on. Instead of using common sense, we all just go, oh, and then what did they do? And then we all start to do group hate and group revenge. And we don't even know why half the time. You know, we just know we're angry.
Yeah.
So there is a person, Alex, they actually work really hard in the community to make sure that emotional maturity, you know, is the emotional IQ, right? That is something that we start talking about. And I think that if we don't have the hard conversations, if we don't say, look, you know, people mess up every day. We are all humans, we all make mistakes, and we've all talked shit about somebody, and we've all had those moments where we probably wish we wouldn't have said it, but we said it and we shared it with the wrong person. I think the difference is we watch so many people take that on as their badge of, I'm a victim. Do you see what's been done to me? And this is what they spend their time on social media. So we've really, in the paranormal, there's so much to discuss. And I do love the Paracons for this, because it forces everybody to be in person to share their theories, right? Instead of social media, where it's less about paranormal and it's more about people personally. And, you know, half these people that are out there that claim to be debunkers, or, you know, they're real investigators, or they're out there with their groups and they're going to talk smack about other people. That's great. You can do that. But I'm just curious. You keep saying that other people aren't providing or contributing to the community. What are you contributing? Where is your paranormal theories? Where's your new equipment? Where's your new thought process? Where's your new practice? Where is your new collabs? Where is that? That's the stuff I want to talk about. I just don't look, people are messy. We are messy human beings. It's what happens, and life gets messy at times. There isn't one single person. And I saw, Rob, you put this over there. Find me one MFer that will be above scrutiny. You know, here's the thing. Every single person yapping would not hold up to the public scrutiny. They just wouldn't.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, there's just so many things about social media anymore that just amaze me and confuse me. And the list goes on, and I'm trying to learn from it. It's one of those things where, I know there's a bit of something I can take from it. And TikTokers, like, I have some stuff out there on TikTok. I'm still trying to figure out the whole TikTok thing. It just it doesn't make sense to me. I'm like trying really hard.
Yeah.
There's dance contests, I think, at night where people wear numbers and people bid on the. I don't understand that. Like, there's so many things that I don't.
Yeah.
Paranormal TikTokers, the ones that go out and they do these mini investigations and they do the Estes and the things like that. I think that's really cool. Like, it's little short bursts. I really like that. The people that get up there with selfies and they go, "Hi, I'm a paranormal TikToker." And I'm like, you know how to use a selfie stick. Okay, that's a better skill than I know. I need to learn to use one of those. But I don't. Yeah, just make exaggerated.
Yeah.
I can do that.
I do that too for pictures because I don't like my picture taken.
I filter everything.
But you're right? TikTok, I think that's the other problem. Social media has taken what people do. And I don't want to use the term, I don't really like to, when people use the term sort of real investigator versus, somebody, we all do it for different reasons, right? We all have our own journeys. But I think with social media, and then you take the TikTok piece, you've taken out really what the journey is. You've given people either highlights or you've given them entertainment in I don't know how long a TikTok thing can be, but I think you pull out what it really means. And you spoke about, being a higher level Reiki. It's something I've done. I got certified up to being a Reiki master, and, it is about sitting in the silence. It is about connecting with you. Universe. It is about those moments that take time. They say, right, in Buddhism, if you don't have 15 minutes to meditate, then you need to meditate for an hour. Most people won't get that. Young people don't get that saying. And it's the truth. When you get those little snippets, you're missing out on the bigger picture of the journey. And it's not these quick little cute. There's a place for TikTok.
Yes,
absolutely. There's a place for entertainment, paranormal. Absolutely. But I think as people who are consuming paranormal, this might be where I lose some people. I think that the responsibility falls on those of us who consume that. You need to be smart about what it is you're choosing and understanding, like, I just like this TikTok because it entertains me and I like the feeling I get.
And that's the key word. That's the key word, though. You're using the word entertainer. I substitute entertainment and influencer. To me, those, and I'm not knocking those. There are two completely different things than a paranormal investigator, researcher, intuitive, whatever we choose to call ourselves. Now, you can be both.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what the content that I'm seeing as paranormal investigations is influencer entertainment, not investigations. Standing up there with a haunted object going, "Hey, look at me." And I'm not making fun of anybody by name, nobody by name. I'm just saying I couldn't pull that off because I'm in touch with what it is I'm working with, protecting from it or connecting with it and trying to obtain more information from it. I don't give a damn if I look pretty with it.
Yeah. Well, you used a word here, and you would look beautiful with it, by the way. You used a word here. You used the word influencer. And I think that right there, and this is something, and Rob, I think you would agree with me on this. Tell me on the side if you do. Rob and I this was never set out to be paranormal influencers. We are truly encouragers of going out and finding your own experience.
Yes.
Period. So, to influence, in my opinion, we're not asking you to believe. In fact, show me where in anything that we share publicly outside of Seek with Your Soul, the show that we do, where do we tell you this is how you must do it? We don't. We want to know how you paranormal, because when we share our voices, when we encourage each other to share our voices, there will be something there that there will be something there that resonates for somebody that might have just been sitting in the curious camp that says, oh my gosh, you know what? Like that person just said that, and that I've had that experience. And now I want to take a step further into the paranormal world. And I think that this is where it's not the influencing them. We just want to encourage them that, you know what? You're not crazy. You have your experiences. Your experiences belong to you. I am not here on this planet to discredit your experience. And if somebody is over exaggerating, faking, guess what? There's something still in there that if you listen to their story, they're sharing something with you, and they're going to tell you, I promise you, most of them, I'm not talking about the entertainers that are out there just making content, but I bet you if you really wanted to spend some time on them psychologically, you could find there's something there. But I think when people are speaking and they're sharing with you, I don't think that a lot of them are exaggerating on purpose. I think it's the emotion that came with that experience, and they are so elated to share it, and they're so amped up, and so they go and they're sharing how they're feeling about it. And
It's
I think when
fish story. It's the big
Right.
fish story. You go catch this awesome fish, and to you it was such a good fishing
Right.
trip, and you caught this amazing fish. But the more you tell it, the more excited it is, and the fish just,
Right. But to them, right? To them, their experience was large. To somebody that had maybe an experience that was larger, so to speak, if we can even compare, I think this is where we need to really listen to our stories to each other. And I think that it is one thing that I love about the Get Haunted community is, there are things that I don't necessarily I don't follow a Christian narrative. I was born and raised a Lutheran. I was baptized. I went to confirmation. I was a Jesus freak when I was younger. But I don't follow that narrative as an older person. I just don't. But when I listen to somebody sharing their experience and it has that very Christian based narrative, it doesn't turn me off, and I'm not going to tell them you're wrong, because they're not wrong.
Absolutely not. No.
Because what I have learned more than anything, uh-oh, did I say something wrong, Rob? What I have learned truly is that, telling people that they're wrong, cutting people off when they're telling their stories does not further us in the field at all, right? It just will never further the conversation if we can't expand that conversation, if we can't hear things we don't like without pitching a fit and pounding our chest.
Right.
Why do you need to be validated so much? Julie, you can believe XYZ, and I might not follow that, but you believing that, I don't need you to validate necessarily one of my beliefs in order for me to continue down my journey. And I will learn from you. I will hear you, and I will add that to my journey. Like you said, you'll hear something, and then down the road, you'll be like, you know what? Julie was right. I'm going to try it this way.
We have to drop the ego. I mean, to me, ego is the root of just so much baneness. Mm-hmm. Baneness isn't really, I didn't use that word correctly. I create my own words, but banefulness. Mm-hmm. I think I left out the full. Ego is, if you can't put aside your ego, like if I'm right and I know I'm right, I don't need to prove to you I'm right.
No.
Like, why would I have to prove if I already know I'm right? Why do I have to prove to somebody that I'm going to come up on top? It doesn't matter to that person because they believe the same thing that I believe. Mm-hmm. And so ego is what, to me, creates the jealousy. It creates the issues. It creates because it blocks. It's a block that comes in and says, nope, I'm putting up a wall because my way's the only way. And I'm Julie and I'm smarter than you. And you can't be that.
But why? And we can take this to many things in our life, right? You can break it down to religion, to politics, to a lot of things in the way we raise our families. This is where I think, just because somebody doesn't believe the way I believe, this whole public validation and again, it comes back down to social media. I can remember pieces of my younger childhood, not much. But I can remember that was something your parents never spoke about. Nobody put signs in their yard. Nobody had a banner on their social media picture of who they voted for. In fact, you didn't ask. I remember, I think one time I came home from school and I asked my mom, like, who are you voting for? My mom's like, you don't ask that question. Like, you just don't ask that question. And now they got people coming up to your door and on social media and calling you, who are you voting for? And it's like, why do we all need to have these validations? I'm going to vote and I'm going to do what I do and I'm going to go to the church that I go to. And it's just none of your business. And it doesn't affect what you do in your day. So,
and that's with everything. Like you said, that is with everything.
Everything.
There's
no, go ahead. No, you go.
I was just, there's a yogic story about a guy who he's sitting in India, and it's the older days, and he has a reed for a pen, and he can't see past the point that this reed that he's dipping in ink is for a pen, and he gets mad because the cow sticks his head in the window and eats his pen, and his yogi guru says to him, are you so stupid that you just thought that was a pen? Because it's yours, it's a pen. Mm-hmm. And he said, it is, it's my pen. And he says, it's a million other things. To the cow, that was his food.
No.
So we can all be right in the same moment. It's all a matter of perspective.
I think that is one thing that is, to me, that is used to be so beautiful about the paranormal, probably when it was more of an underground thing where, you really were meeting up to speak about the paranormal. And, in the paranormal, how I view it at 53, cut me some slack, people here, it's not about sexuality. It's not about your religion. It's not about your political affiliation.
Nope.
It is about something that when we leave this, that shit doesn't matter at all. It just doesn't. So when we get together and we sit in a room together, and it is one thing that I have truly loved about being a part of Get Haunted, we've done these events together, and to sit in a room with different beliefs and practices and experiences, and something actually happens, but we all see, hear, and feel it very differently. And I am a big believer because, as I started doing paranormal, I didn't have big experiences in the beginning. And I still don't. I just see them very differently now. So I went to watching the living very closely. So I watched what everybody was doing, what they said, how they shifted, what they wore. I wasn't judging them. I just sort of was trying to figure out, like, how is this person, how they're expressing themselves? How are they going to express their experience? Sure. I watched how they breathed, how they, spoke to each other. And I really did come down to, when you work in the paranormal, when you are looking and working with the dead, I really have, my belief is that the dead truly give you a really deep inside look at the living, and they are it's a mirror situation. And I feel that they are definitely forcing us into situations to say, look around, and the living will give you a very good idea about what you're learning from the afterlife. And I do believe that as living human beings, our capability of truly, conceptualizing what the afterlife is, we just don't have it. And I do believe the dead have to then turn it around and say, you need to understand this living part, because when you get over here, you're going to be blown away. It's going to be this amazing journey. And so I just think when we can sit in a room, we all know we're in a haunted location. We're all looking for something, but what that something is, I don't believe we all do paranormal for the same reason. I don't.
No,
I don't like when people say that we're all doing this for the same reason. No, we're not.
no,
My reason could be way more personal than your reason, or your reason could be that you want to come up with the next new experiment. I think that's amazing, and I love that. But mine might be for something to find inside myself. So we're not doing it for the same reason. But I
right.
do love that we be in the same room, something come through from universe, and that we all take it in so differently. And to hear those experiences, I think that's a beautiful moment to be able to say, I might have seen this, and you're over here telling me you saw that. Why are we fighting each other? Let's just be grateful that, oh my God, we're building the bigger picture. We all
Yeah.
have a talent to see something different, to hear something different, to smell something different. I think that's a beautiful thing when we can share that moment and put our piece and complete that picture. I think that brings us closer to what the afterlife has to offer. I can't know it all.
No,
So
absolutely. And it's bits, like you said, it's bits and pieces and stories. And I think because of our stories and our past and our roads that we have traveled, we each have that unique ability to see, hear, feel, taste something different. If it was all the same, number one, it would be boring. You know, if everybody said, oh, yeah, I heard that, and that's all I heard, and there wasn't anything more to it, I think we would all end up being disillusioned. It's that drive that, why did 5 people see, hear, feel something different at that same moment? That's the uniqueness about it. Why did you get this message and I got this message? But guess what? They go together. So how were we able to do that on different levels? That intrigues me.
yeah, and I'm also curious why we don't take these moments and think about some of the common sense. Like, why is it that we hear a teenager, especially a teenage female, that, you know, she's with her friends and they're on the Ouija board, right? And they talk about their experience, which rarely relates to a 53-year-old woman's experience in a haunted location. It comes from their level of maturity and experience in life. And to what you just said, Julie, it's that, what do we bring to the table? What was our past traumas? What was our experiences in life? The way we were raised, or, you know, anything, tragedy in our life, you know, we all bring something. And so, you know, I think when we talk about, you know, you hear an adult's version of what happened with a Ouija board versus a group of 14-year-olds, it's very different, which means if you can't stop and see that we have our own perceptions and that's what we're sharing, instead of saying this person's wrong, this person's right, it's all based on perception. And I think if we don't get to know and understand where that information's coming from, I think just judging it right on and saying they're wrong. No, for a 14-year-old girl, probably very valid what they're feeling. And we need to honor that.
Absolutely.
Oh.
And what we bring to the table, like you said, from our traumas, those of us that work.
I cannot hear it all. My earbuds just took a crap, I think. Hold on. Okay, I mean now.
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Just good. Totally.
Nothing like shitty earbuds.
I know Robbie hates these pods. I know. Yeah. I'm sorry.
You know, we all took a crap. We all bring our own spirit pools and our own energy. And we've talked about this with Greg, and Russell and I've talked about this, and Chris and I've talked about this. Not only do you have the age and the experiences and or the trauma, but because of whatever we practice, we bring that pool with us as well. And so
absolutely,
you know, so that's a whole nother advantage or disadvantage, or door opening or closing, whichever it may be per the situation.
Yeah, I think we are so focused on the evidence instead of understanding where the evidence came from. And I think if we want to use the term real investigator, if you're only focused on what the experience was and you're not getting those other pieces to understand why the experience was that way, then you haven't gathered the full picture. And, at 14, maybe that person hasn't experienced a loved one passing, or maybe they've only heard about somebody passing, but haven't really experienced it to their core. Where as you get older, some of us have been there. I got to be at my mom's last breath. That is a very different experience. And it does open your eyes to understanding watching a living person. And I was with her for the last week of her life. So to watch that week of where she was herself and we had this amazing conversation and watch her disappear within a week's time from Saturday to Friday, that changes my view on a lot of things about the afterlife.
Yes.
And what happens to energy that a 14 to an 18-year-old or even maybe a young 20 might not have that experience yet. And I think we do each other a disservice when we don't honor everybody's place in life. Look, there are assholes in this world. We know that. And they're just going to be assholes. And I don't really care what their excuse is. It's not my business. And I'm not your mom. I'm not here to raise you. But I think when we don't give each other the grace of what our life experiences have been, and then to say we're all in this community together, right? I think we're not being authentic. And I think this is where I'll just say, I feel like with Get Haunted, and I'm not talking just Rob and I, again, we have our opinions, but I think when you watch what the network does together, what I see so many people giving each other that grace to come to the table as they are with their experiences, their traumas, their tragedies, their upbringings, their religion, their change of religion, and they're listening to the stories. And I think that's how we should be expanding these conversations. Ask somebody a question, have a personal conversation as personal as somebody is willing to be with you, and ask them why they came to these conclusions. Because if you ask that question, if somebody says, I believe in demons, I don't use the D word. I just don't. As somebody that does more Buddhist practices than anything else, I just don't use that word. But if somebody does, ask some questions and understand why that word is important to them and their belief system, and then allow it. You can allow it. It's not gonna, what they say and what their life brings them with their experiences doesn't invalidate what mine do. So I think we're no, it shouldn't. But I think, again, I'm going to bring it back to social media has given everybody the platform to share those opinions without substance. There's no substance in the social media world.
Exactly.
That's really, and I think
I agree completely.
Yeah, and here we are working in the paranormal and spirituality, which is all about substance. It's all about getting that substance, all that goodness that comes with it. And when I say goodness, I mean the dark and the light, the negative and the positive. Social media wipes that out and just says, yeah, here's the few sentences, here's a cute little picture, and there you go. That's it, folks. That's paranormal, and you either like it or you don't. If you don't like it, then we're going to bash you, and if you do like it, we're going to bash you. That's the part that makes me sad. This is a very deep, personal, and substance-based genre, and we're missing the mark with social media. I just figured it out for myself. Oh my God, I had to be on your show tonight, Julie.
Well, and I don't think any of us, I mean, I can't speak for, I think you and I see eye to eye on a lot of things. I know if anybody comes up and asks me a question, I'm more than willing. I'm an open book. Mm-hmm. If I can share my experience and either A, keep you from having to go through it, or B, help you on from something that you've been through, or just give you an answer that no one else is willing to sit and talk about, that's where these conversations go.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody should ever be afraid to come up and ask a personal question or a question related to the substance of what it is we're doing.
Well, when we work together, and especially when we do events, we have this amazing opportunity to sit with so many different personalities,
Mhm.
and we're working with them, and we go to these popular locations, but let's be honest, we don't know who we're working with spirit wise. We don't know that who came through is not something personal to somebody that showed up, right? So you have these moments, and when you do something like if somebody has the gift and they know, maybe they're a psychic medium, or maybe they don't use that term, or we get an EVP, and here we have personal information that comes through, right? And instead of trying to fit it into what the location's history is or other people's paranormal experiences at that location, right? Here's this moment to sit us down. I am a big believer, when we do these events, the people that are supposed to be there that night are there, and they're there
Yes.
for a reason. And so to be able to share that moment, and if something comes through, or if somebody has this aha moment, or, oh my gosh, I feel like my uncle who passed 2 weeks ago is with me, right? Like, these are the moments that do make it personal. And I love that, Julie, that you said that you should use that to expand the conversation, because
Mhm.
people will want to speak when they can connect with something. And I'll be honest, I was that person for so many years that would go to these locations, and I'm watching everybody around me running around, and oh my gosh, I'm being touched, I'm being slapped, I've got this going on, and I'm literally standing there going, nothing's happening. I got nothing. Like, there's literally
Nothing.
not a chill, not anything, right? But I do believe, when I look back, and I do, for me, my paranormal journey really has started from right now. And I look back, and I can now go back and learn what it was that led me to here, and I needed this.
Mhm.
Um, so it
Right.
is one of those things that, you know, if you if I can sit here and listen to other people's experiences and allow myself to just sit in the silence and sit in their experience, I do get something from it. And I realized that I was getting so much more from everybody else's experience, that it became an experience for me, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so the
Yes.
paranormal, right? The paranormal is not just a ghost that's going to come through, or energy, or a spirit. And I have coined this, and I've been made fun of this for this, but at Get Haunted, we can't promise you a paranormal experience, but we can promise you an experience in the paranormal. And that's going to beautiful locations, learning history, meeting those in the community, from curious to seasoned. It's learning a new experiment. It's learning a new piece of equipment. It's learning a new
New
practice or
techniques.
belief, new techniques. So it's not just this one thing. And I think looping it back to the social media piece, when it's the content creator of a YouTube, that are the popular YouTubers, right? Or a short TikTok, those are the pieces that the consumer is missing. And I think it's more of the younger generation. And I think, though, you watch how they don't have coping skills, they don't have self-soothing skills, they don't have emotional maturity, so why? Because it's all this weird instantaneous flash in your eyes, when that is not what life is. It just isn't
Oh gosh, no.
24/7 entertainment,
God, no.
And paranormal
And
is
sometimes
not 24/7,
we
entertainment.
it is not. And if it is, it's the cleanup crew is coming in because good Lord. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been in those moments where it's been 24 hours and 72 hours in a week, and you're going, I'm done with this shit. Like, I'm done. I need a break. It's just crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. But I think there are so many amazing pieces to this, and there's so many amazing women that we can all learn from, men. check out your women counterparts here. There's some amazing, strong women. And Julie, you and I were talking about this when you said, we were laughing because when you said, you're like, we're going to be talking about women in the paranormal. I'm like, oh, Julie, I'm more of a dude. Like, I'm definitely, Rob can attest to this. I am definitely more of a dude a lot of the times. But I think this is where, again, paranormal for me has opened, it really has opened myself to understand that I maybe more so than Reiki, I'm going to just throw this out there, that whole masculine and feminine energy is so important while you're working in the paranormal. And I mean, from our own, I do chew tobacco practically.
I smoke cigars.
I love that.
It's all part of the spirit world. It's, what it is.
I love that. But yeah, I think when you're working with universe, right? Universe is masculine and feminine, and to honor those pieces of yourself while you're working, I think you definitely you open yourself up to, more robust experiences in the paranormal. I will just put that out there.
Yes. Well, and knowing that there's a time and a place for both, and we assume those roles, if you're open and you and you understand that it's a balance of masculine and feminine, when the femininity needs to be there, it is there. And when the masculinity is there or is needed, it is there also. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I accept 100% of the time in my life is that there are no coincidences. There's only synchronicities. Right. The fact that people meet each other at a certain time, that people cross your tables and your paths and your conversations. And if something falls or something is misplaced, it's all a synchronicity of energy in that moment.
I would agree with that.
So take the time to see that synchronicity. Instead of getting mad at it because your car didn't start, or you were half an hour late. There's a reason you're a half an hour late.
You
wouldn't have been in that time and place. And
I agree with that 1000%. And I think, it can be hard. It can be hard, especially now being in the business side of paranormal. There are times that I do question, like, what is my lesson? And I have thought about that, a little more so here in the last week. What is truly my lesson on why? What is this supposed to be? And I do believe that I met Get Haunted at the right time in my life. I do believe that being able to be accepted into Get Haunted, Rob trusting me to work with him and to help build something that he started. This was his baby, and to give me creative license and to get in there with him and really create this space. I think that we're in this shift, and I've said this, shifts don't happen overnight. I've been saying there's been a shift for probably the last 4 years. There's been a shift, and I think I used to never love the term spiritual war, but I think that because of the social media aspect of where it has taken paranormal, I did steal your company. But to say where the paranormal has gone because of social media, what we have found with Get Haunted is that the number of people, and if you know who we are, you'll hear people say, oh, we do say we're a cult. Why? Because that was something started by people who don't like us. And we took it and we had to make it funny for us.
Level 5 cult member.
That's right. Level 5 right there.
First cult member. Level 5.
When you look at what a cult is, it's not all, yes, there are people out there that have made the word a negative, have the negative aspect. However, it is, I think what Get Haunted has really opened up are people that were curious have stepped in a little bit further. Mm-hmm. People who are seasoned have been willing to come and speak about doing something different than they've always done. So it's really about saying, oh my God, I do have a voice. You've always had a voice. Don't ever let somebody tell you that you don't. Your voice isn't Zach Bagans. Your voice isn't the YouTuber, out there that's making millions of dollars. It's okay. Your voice is yours, and your voice is important, and your voice does add to somebody's light. And I think when, Rob and I are not looking to be on TV. We're not looking to be the next big thing. Trends come and go, especially on social media. What we really are looking to do is to grow something that has such a stable foundation, because the afterlife it's always been there, and it's always going to be there. And so we want there to be this space for people to always be able to come, explore. If it doesn't suit you, you can go. You're good. You can go do your thing. But we promise, I think more than that, you're going to find people that you're really glad you found, that you can continue those conversations, even if it's not with Rob and I. It's with somebody. And that's the important. There's somebody for everybody, and you're probably going to find them and get haunted. So it is getting your voices out there and being heard on a level that I think we have gotten too focused on watching TV and watching people that claim to be, because you're on TV, you must know more. Not true. We need to understand it, like the entertainment paranormal has become the church. They've become the preachers, and we're supposed to follow them. And that's just not the truth. Come out and join us. Come out and be spiritual. It's a spiritual experience, right? I'm not saying a religious one. I'm saying it will touch your soul. So you don't have to follow what somebody says. If somebody that you admire on TV doesn't like a certain way, but you do, it's okay. You can step outside what that person believes. You are your own person. Yeah.
I tell people, you are enough. Take up space. You are important in this world. Take up space where you are. Mm-hmm. Don't be like, oh, I'm sorry, my ways are my little show, my little investigation. It's not. It's all equal in the realm. It's all equal. Take up space.
And we know, right?
Be loud and proud.
I believe the universe realizes, and I have to believe this. I believe the universe knows who's doing what, right? That's the whole law, especially in Buddhism, right? The whole red thread, and you give what you give, and right, karma and all that beautiful stuff. And it's not for me to dole out to people. So when I get it, people have issues with people faking the paranormal. It's actually something that doesn't bother me. I don't hold people to a standard that if they're faking it, I'm going to prove it. Like, you know what? That's on them, and that's whatever they're doing, and it doesn't stop me. And I feel like when we say, well, it dumbs down what we're all doing as investigators. If somebody is out there faking something, it doesn't stop me, and it doesn't stop Julie from doing what we're doing. And I don't think everybody then looks at us differently. I just don't. I think that it makes people look at them differently, but that's for them. And I am okay.
I just move on, and I stay in my lane.
Yeah. Like, who has
I don't worry about anybody else.
Yeah. I can't have time debunking what everybody else is doing. Now, if somebody has a thought about an experiment we're doing, and they're like, hey, this is kind of not the right way. Can you try it this way? Open to that kind of, debunking, or, hey, why don't you try? But I think we're like lost in the paranormal. I feel like there's not enough talk about theory. There's not enough, hey, April, there's not enough talk about practices and techniques. There's not enough talk about, advances, or changes of mind. Like, I would much rather have those conversations all day long than talking about who everybody's supposed to hate today. I really wished we could get back, because here we are, social media, bringing the world, making it a little smaller. We can have these conversations, but we don't. we talk about everything but. And, you know, so is it the paranormal community anymore? I would say on social media, no. You know, and it's one thing I do love about Get Haunted. I think social media is about the social media world, period. And, you know, some of us, I guess,
Yeah.
have paranormal names, but I think that, you know, the community itself will find ways every day to have these conversations. I think what you're going to see is they're going to start stepping away from social media, and they'll find another avenue to deliver,
Yeah.
another method to deliver this information. And I guess if it goes underground again a little bit, you know, maybe that's for the best. But I always would encourage everybody on the side, or anybody that's interested in the paranormal, be a responsible consumer. You be the
Yep.
responsible consumer. You know, if you follow hate groups, then that's on you. You know, you need to think about what it is you want to consume
Yes.
instead of blaming everybody else around you. You know, if you want to learn the paranormal, then seek them out, because there are amazing people out there that have so
Yep.
much great information to learn from. Seek it out. Be a responsible consumer. Because you know,
Block drama. You don't have people, you know, I think that's the other thing with social media too, is everybody feels like they have to respond. You don't have to respond. I'm here to give people permission. You don't like something on your media, block it. If it doesn't serve an existence to you, if it makes you angry every time you look at it, then get rid of it. It's social media.
Yeah. There's a good series. I just started it on Hulu, and it is about social media and the different things that have come from this. And, you know, I think, again, though, I think it has made us lazy. Instead of, you know, we share so many opinions, where before we had to be choosy about them because we were going to have to say it to somebody's face, not just type it, and make up, you know, a million different fake accounts, right, to deliver the dirty opinions. So I think we've gotten a little lazy, but I see this spiritual war happening. I see people stepping up and owning what they want instead of what they're given, you know, and searching it out and asking the questions. And so that is encouraging, but I think it's going to be a shakeup, right? It's going to shake things up, and people aren't going to all like it. And this is where then people start to feel, and you use the word, right? The ego situation, where, you know, for a while people maybe ran popular and then they didn't, or they don't put the work in, but they complain because they see somebody else. But nobody really knows what anybody else is doing, going through, or sacrificing. They just make their assumptions, they put it out there, and then people gobble it all up, right? So I've often said, I don't know if I'm as mad at the people who kind of hurl the hate out. I think I'm more disappointed in those that latch on and then consume it and sort of perpetuate it, right?
Yes. That's why I said block it. Like, if it doesn't bring you peace, then get rid of it. If it doesn't bring you knowledge, then get rid of it.
Yeah. So I think that I think we're going to see, it might be a small group, and that's okay. You know, I think I'd rather have a small group that want to work together, that want to expand these conversations, that want to learn together. I'll do that all day long, than be in the crowd that might be bigger. I don't know. Or maybe they, you know, maybe they're with the name, and that's okay. This is what I know. The paranormal is not about a big name, because in the afterlife, it's just not going to matter, folks. Again, this isn't going to matter. So let's talk about let's go deep. Let's cut through the mess. Let's cut through the messiness that we are. And let's talk about what our consciousness is. Can we tap into some of that now? Are they allowing, is that what these moments of connecting with the other side really is allowing us to open that consciousness up a little bit and say, hey guys, get ready, because you can't even conceptualize this as a living human being on earth, because once that is all blown out of the water, none of that's going to matter. So I think that's the problem, right? We think what's going to matter because that's what we do right now. What matters now? Where we live, who we're friends with, right? You really think religion matters on the other side? Do you really think God's like Christians here, right? Like Jewish people here? Like that's not how it's going to go.
No.
None of it's going
those
to.
Those with $1 million houses here and those that live in trailer. No, it's nothing like that. No.
Yeah. I mean,
nothing.
So why don't we try to have those conversations? We always talk about let's be better people, let's be all inclusive, and we don't do it. And that makes me a little sad to think that we can't just say, let's have this moment. Okay, hey Julie, let's sit at MSP together. And I want to hear your beliefs and your experiences and your tragedies. And I'm going to share mine. And we're not going to judge each other for them. We're just going to sit in this moment.
Absolutely.
And let's see what contacts us. Let's see what connects with us in this moment.
That would be explosive. It would be so explosive. It would be explosive.
Yes, you do, Rob. You do get the cult leader section. I'm sorry. That does exist.
It does. It does. Just for Rob. Just for Rob. Yeah. Well, we've gone 30 minutes over tonight. We have to have a part B of this. We will have to have a part B, part 2.
Yeah, I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, it was beautiful. And I want to continue this. But I know it's way past your bedtime and way past other people's bedtimes. 9 o'clock's a late show. I love you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
I love you too, Julie. Thank you so much.
I can't do hearts very well, but
You're the best. You're the best. Well, I just want to say this. I know you met Rob at MSP, and I remember him telling me I met Julie. And honest to God, Julie, when you showed up in Gettysburg at the Warren Seekers of the Supernatural Paracon, I will say this. It was just like we had just seen, like we had just parted for a little bit. Like, oh, there's Julie. There she is. It was not a first time meeting. So thank you.
No, and Rob had talked about you, and it was beautiful. I was so excited to see you guys. Like I was just like,
yeah, so cool. It was amazing. It was amazing. So thank you for being my sister in life and in universe and in paranormal. And I look forward to learning so much from you.
Same. Let's do a part 2. Stay on for just a few seconds afterwards. Okay. And I love you guys and see you next week. Bars closed. Good night.